Hello ladies and frogs, and welcome back to another video. So as I'm sure a lot of us know, working in fast food sucks, doesn't it? I know all of us have worked at least one fast food job, or I guess any job in general, that we really just hated, like with every fiber of our being. I know I have a lot of them. I have a lot of horror stories from working in different fast food chains, from like coworkers of mine being generally inappropriate to my manager literally getting me evicted from my house because I put in my 2-week notice. It's a lot. I couldn't even fit it into one video if I tried. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about one horror story in particular about a fast food job that I worked at, and this was literally the fastest that I have ever quit a job before in my life. So let's go ahead and get straight into the video. And if you guys have any experiences of your own that you want to share, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below because I love hearing about shit like this. So to give you a little bit of context and set the scene, my boyfriend's mom and I love going to this specific fast food restaurant that's mainly known for serving ice cream. And the specific location we go to only serves ice cream. So we'll go there like roughly once a week to get ourselves one of their signature ice creams. So anyways, one day after work, I decided to stop at this location and grab an ice cream for my boyfriend's mom. And when I pull up to the window, I'm making small talk with the person that's taking my order. I find out he's actually the general manager of that location, and they are like extremely short-staffed. And the second I asked him if they were short-staffed, he lost his mind. He grabs me an application. He's asking me to come inside. He's practically begging me to come work at this store for him because of how short-staffed they are. When I'm literally telling you that this guy was like almost on his hands and knees, like sitting here pushing the application into my hand, telling me like, if you put in this application, you will have a job, guaranteed, no questions asked. And at this particular time, I wasn't really looking for another job. I was pretty comfortable at the one that I was at. I was working at a different fast food franchise. And typically when I find out that a place is that egregiously short-staffed to the point where like the managers are literally begging people to apply, that usually lets off a couple red flags in my head because why are you that short-staffed? But whatever, what place isn't short-staffed nowadays? And I had been juggling in my head for the past couple of months prior to that whether or not I wanted to pick up a second job, so I figured I might as well give it a shot and put in an application, especially if I was guaranteed a position. And when I tell you that this man was so desperate to get me on board that he offered to hire me on at $7 more than what their starting pay was, because I told him I wasn't really willing to prioritize a job like this considering I was making almost double what their starting pay was at my other job that I was currently working at the time. Whatever, I go home, I bring my boyfriend's mom her ice cream. I juggle the idea in my head for a couple days, and then ultimately after talking it over with my boyfriend and his mom, I decide to put in the application because a little extra money can't hurt, right? Fast forward a couple days, I put in the application, I start basically the next day, and in the meantime, things at my other fast food job are kind of going awry. My manager had recently been fired, and he wasn't a great manager, but the person they replaced him with was so much worse. Without going out on this long tangent, she basically just didn't respect my availability and was constantly putting me on shifts that I wasn't able to work. For example, scheduling me until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning to then have me come back in the next morning at 7, 8, or 9 a.m. So just from that little tidbit, I'm sure you can tell how hectic that schedule was, and it wasn't really plausible for me to have 2 jobs when one job was so inflexible with the scheduling. So after working this new job for a while, I decided it seemed pretty easy in comparison to the other job that I was working, and I was making basically the same thing. So I decided that after like 2 or 3 days of working there, that I was going to take a break, work out a full 2 weeks at my other job, and then come back to work full time. I ran this by the boss, I cleared it, it was totally okay, whatever, right? Now that little bit of information is important for later, so remember that. Anyways, in the 2-3 days that I had just started working there, I was getting used to everything, and I was only working with the general manager. Because it was nothing but teenagers working at this store, in the afternoon, the only person on the schedule was the general manager and then myself once I got hired. And since this location was pretty slow because they sell ice cream and it's dead winter, we had a lot of time on our hands. So we got to talking and, learning about each other, being generally friendly, whatever. And this man was being very open with me about his private life, which was also another red flag that I should have looked at. Talking to me about his ex-wife, talking about how he came here all the way from a different state just to be with this woman and she ended up kicking him out, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And then this man decides to drop the craziest bombshell on me at 8 a.m. on a random Tuesday. He tells me that he is currently homeless, which, okay, I understand. I've been there before, right? He's living in the fucking attic He brings me up there. He shows me his little bedroom setup. He's got a mattress. He's got a mini fridge. He's got a TV. He's got his PlayStation set up on the work computer. I was gobsmacked. And at this point, there are some alarm bells going off in my head because, there are only minors in this store. Only teenagers, right? And this guy had already given me a couple red flags prior to this. But I'm also trying to be understanding because, once again, it is dead winter. And I've been homeless. I've been there before. So you know what? If the owner has granted you permission to sleep in the attic of this establishment, whatever. All right, moving on. Once I quit my other job, I start working nights over here and I get to know some of the teenagers a lot better. And while working these night shifts, I get to know two of these teenagers pretty well. And for the sake of anonymity, I'm going to call them Alex and Emma. And I think these kids are funny and I enjoy working with them. They're both 15. You know, we have a good time working together, whatever. By the end of our first night working together, these kids are begging me to stay working here. They are begging me. They're we are so uncomfortable around the GM. We don't like working with him. Can you please stay here and be our night manager so we don't have to work with him anymore? So now I'm freaked out and kind of stuck between the moral dilemma of either just minding my own business, coming to work, doing my job and going home, or trying to look out for these kids because obviously this GM is kind of weird and he's raising some red flags, right? I also get to know the other teenagers too and they're all really cool. They're all really sweet. You know, they're just little kids. They're just little kids in my eyes. And not one of them really had anything good to say about this GM. So alarm bells are ringing off in my head, but I'm still deciding to stick it out. If for nothing else than for these teenagers. Now let's skip forward a little bit to a couple days later. I'm working with a different pair of teenagers. I'm gonna call them Milo and Ashley. So we're all just talking on shift, hanging out, whatever. And this GM also had a habit of coming downstairs every hour or so and just standing there and watching us work. So it's the evening time around 5 or 6 p.m. and he comes downstairs and we don't have any customers, so the teenagers are just chatting it up with him. And then he goes, "Hey, I just finished printing a 3D sculpture. Do you kids want to see it?" And of course they're interested, they're intrigued. 3D printing is cool. And he proceeds to bring down this figure that looked like it was straight out of Rule 34. When I'm telling you that you could literally see the pepperonis underneath what I'm assuming was supposed to be a bikini, but actually just looked like 3 threads tied together on this lady. And he's showing this off to two 15-year-olds. To two 15-year-old teenagers. And I immediately tell him, I'm put that away. Bring that back upstairs. Do not be showing that off. For starters, this is a work environment. This is insanely unprofessional. And for two, these are kids. Whatever. He brings it back upstairs. He comes back down. He continues to talk to us. Whatever. For some reason, his divorce comes up in conversation. And he decides to tell us about how he met his ex-wife. Pretty innocent story. They worked at the same fast food chain together. They had this inside joke where every day he would ask her to marry him. Every day she'd say, "Ask me tomorrow." And eventually she just said yes. Very cute, right? And when he brings up the time frame, I get kind of curious. And so I ask him, "Hey, how old were you guys when you guys got together?" And he pauses for a moment and he goes, "Oh, well, she was 15 and I was 26, but it was okay because I asked her parents' permission before I started dating her." When I tell you, sir, you had to ask her parents' permission. The fact that you had to ask her parents' permission to start dating her should have been your first flag to leave it the fuck alone. So now we've established that this dude's batshit insane, right? My jaw dropped to the floor. I had to walk away. I was I'm absolutely done with this conversation. I was I'm done. I'm off doing my own thing. At this point, I've chosen to just step away from the conversation. I'm not really paying attention to it anymore, but I am peeking kind of in and out of it just to make sure nothing weird's going on because he's still talking to the kids. And I don't really know what the context of this conversation was. All I know was I heard Ashley go, "Gosh, GM, you suck." And this man looks this 15-year-old girl dead in her eyes and goes, "I don't suck. I lick." I'm done, right? At some point, I had also heard that this guy was racist and was saying things about Hispanic people coming into the store and that if they couldn't speak English, they might as well not even come in, whatever. I look this dude dead in his face. I'm like, "Sale mi tienda. Get out of my store." I was like, "You are not on the clock. I am. Go upstairs. Go. You're done." I'm so angry at this point. I'm cursing up a storm to this dude in Espanol. And he has not a clue what I'm saying. And so I keep just going back to, "Get out of my store. Get out of my, go upstairs. Go upstairs." Finally, he goes back upstairs. We close the night without any issues. I leave whatever. For context to this next little tidbit of information, I am going to say that I did work a shift with 2 other teenage boys, and I guess they had a pretty negative experience with me. I believe it just boiled down to the fact that they were best friends, and I sent one of them home early, and that made the other one upset. So these boys just did not like me right out the gate, right? Anyways, a couple days later, we get a snowstorm. We have to close the store early because the roads are getting bad, and the next morning, I actually have to call out of work because I'm snowed in. The manager says that's all fine and well. Cool, whatever. He's really understanding about it. Cool. I go about my day. I come in the next day. I'm working with Emma and Milo again. When Emma sees me, she has this big look on her face and she runs up to me and she's like, I have a video to show you. I have a video to show you. So I'm like, what's up? What's going on? And she pulls out this video and it's like 10 minutes long. And it's this manager, this GM, just bad-mouthing me to these other 2 teenagers. And not just bad-mouthing. I could deal with somebody speaking bad about me. That's fine, whatever. It's almost expected in a fast food establishment. But he was deliberately making things up about me when he was speaking to these kids, deliberately to make me look bad. And at the end of the video, when he asks Emma what she thinks, she says, I don't know, I like her. And he responds by saying, well, I don't like that you guys like her so much. And then she goes on to tell me that this has been going on for a really long time, and before she got to know me, he was talking bad about me. Before I even got hired, before I even started working full time, he was talking bad about me to all of these teenagers, threatening to fire me because I chose to take 2 weeks off. 2 weeks off, which he okayed. So it all boiled down to him talking bad about me and making things up about me. And that was like, honestly, where my breaking point was, because it was already so many other things on top of that. I was done. I took off my headset. I went upstairs. I took pictures of his living area. Luckily, I had already had some recordings of some of the inappropriate things he had said to the teenagers. I emailed all of those files to the corporate office. I called the corporate phone number and opened up an investigation about him. Keep in mind, this was like 2 hours after my shift started. I texted him and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, it was a very short and sweet message. I really wanted to just ream him about all of the reasons that I was quitting, but I didn't. I left it short and sweet and I just said, I don't like this work environment. I'm leaving. Good luck. I blocked his number. I drove away. Fine. The only teenager's contact information that I ended up getting was Emma's, because she had sent me the video of them talking bad about me. And throughout the whole night, she's texting me. He's really mad. He's really angry. He's asking us if he's ever made us uncomfortable. He said that he feels like you were really unprofessional. And he's mad because he said that you put his job at risk by opening up an investigation and he didn't do anything wrong, yada, yada, yada. And after all of this, who are you calling unprofessional? Anyways, there was a lot of other things that took place, but they were more petty things that I don't really care to mention. But the real kicker is that all of this took place in the span of like 5 days. I don't know how he is. I hope he's doing terrible. Yeah, but that's basically the story of how I got the world record for fastest person to quit a job. I have a lot more stories like this I'm willing to share if you guys are interested in hearing about it. If you are, go ahead and comment down below. And like I said in the beginning, if you guys have any crazy stories from places you've worked, go ahead and leave those in the comments down below too, because I love hearing about crazy things. And this video turned out a lot longer than I expected. I really wasn't expecting it to take that long to explain all of that, but I hope this story made you just as mad as I was the entire time I worked here. And of course, in retrospect, I'm sure that there was a more professional and a more mature way to go about it, but I don't care! At the end of the day, I just hope he got fired. That's all I care about. I could honestly probably text Emma and ask her if he did. If I have any updates on this story, I'll let you guys know. I'll text her and I'll see if anything interesting has happened. But anyways, that is all that I have for you guys today. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys want to go ahead and like, be gentle. Be gentle with the like button, please. I love you all, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!